All right, so today we're going to dive into the story of this ancient leader, King Hezekiah of Judah. Now, he's remembered as one of the absolute greatest kings in his nation's history. But here's the thing, his legacy is also kind of one of the most puzzling.
And that's really the big question we're going to tackle today. I mean, how can a king who's praised for his incredible faith also be remembered for failures so huge, so significant, that they were said to have sealed the fate of his entire kingdom? It just doesn't seem to add up, right? So let's get into it.
So, to get a sense of this, check out this quote from the historical Book of Kings. It doesn't pull any punches with its praise. It says he was the most faithful king ever. Think about that for a second. More than David, more than Solomon. That is a truly, truly remarkable claim to make. But then, here's the twist. The very same book that gives him this glowing review, well, it also lays out his failures in detail. So what's going on here? Is this just a huge contradiction? Well, to solve this puzzle, we have to look at how his story was told. Okay, so this brings us right to the heart of Hezekiah's super puzzling legacy. And to really get it, we've got to look beyond just what happened and start asking how and, more importantly, why it was recorded the way it was.
And here's the key. We actually have two different accounts of Hezekiah's reign. You've got the Book of Kings, which is kind of like a balanced political history. It gives you the good, the bad, the whole picture. But then you have the Book of Chronicles, which retells that same history, but with a totally different goal. It's what you'd call a theological history, meaning it was written to teach a really specific lesson.
You see, the author of Chronicles, scholars call him the chronicler, isn't just a historian listing off facts. Nope, he's carefully shaping the story to show his readers what true faithfulness really looks like. And here's the kicker. For him, it's not about being flawless. It's about how you respond when you mess up. And Hezekiah, he's pretty much the star example.
So let's take a look at what the chronicler really chose to emphasize. He focuses on two absolutely monumental acts that, for him, defined Hezekiah's faithfulness. Okay, first, Hezekiah holds this huge Passover celebration. And this was a big deal because he invited everyone, even people from the northern tribes that had been scattered, to come back together in Jerusalem. It was this massive symbol of unity. And second, he completely restored the temple, getting everything back in order to bring it back to its former glory. And this is where you can really see the chronicler's point shining through. By doing these things, Hezekiah wasn't just being a good king. He was actually mirroring the great acts of the legendary kings David and Solomon. It's like he was trying to reboot a golden age for his people. But you just know that all this good work was about to face its biggest test yet.
And right after these incredible successes, a huge shadow falls over the kingdom. The greatest superpower of the day, the Assyrian Empire, sets its sights on Judah.
So, in the year 701 BCE, the Assyrian war machine, led by this ruthless king named Sennacherib, just sweeps through the land. He crushes every single fortified city in Judah, everything. The only place left standing is the capital, Jerusalem. I mean, Sennacherib was basically known as the king of destruction, and it really looked like everything Hezekiah had built was about to be completely wiped out.
And we don't just have to take the Bible's word on this. In Sennacherib's own royal records, he actually boasts about it. He claims he left Hezekiah caged up like a bird in his capital city of Jerusalem. I mean, you can just feel how dire the situation was. It seemed completely hopeless.
The Assyrians were masters of psychological warfare. They're sending these threatening, taunting letters right to the walls of Jerusalem, trying to get the people to give up. Hezekiah's army is defeated. His city is surrounded. He has literally no military options left. So he does the only thing he can. He takes those enemy letters, walks into the temple, spreads them out, and basically just lays the whole problem before God.
And what the biblical account says happened next is, well, it's just stunning. A miraculous deliverance. Overnight, 185,000 Assyrian soldiers were apparently struck down. Now, historians debate what exactly happened. Maybe it was a plague, we don't know for sure. But here's the one fact that isn't disputed, even in Sennacherib's own records. He never took Jerusalem. The city was saved.
Okay, so this brings us right back to our original puzzle, doesn't it? If Hezekiah had this much faith during the ultimate test, what about those failures we talked about? And this is where the chronicler's whole perspective becomes absolutely crucial.
So one of Hezekiah's biggest mistakes happened a bit earlier in his reign. Some envoys from Babylon came to visit, and Hezekiah, in a moment of pride, gives them the grand tour and shows off all the treasures in his kingdom. The prophet Isaiah basically calls him out, saying it was a foolish, prideful move. But the chronicler presents this whole event differently. For him, this wasn't some fatal flaw, it was a test.
And see, for the chronicler, the really crucial point is how Hezekiah responded to being called out. He didn't get defensive, he didn't double down, he humbled himself, and he admitted he messed up. And in the chronicler's view, this moment of failure and his response to it actually strengthened his faith. It's what prepared him for that much bigger crisis with Assyria. It's like he learned the hard way to rely on God, not on his own stuff.
And really, this gets to the central message of the whole story. Dr. August Konkel sums it up perfectly. He says, faithfulness does not mean without failure. The question is, what are you going to do when you fail? I mean, that's it, right? We're all going to fail at some point. The real measure of who we are is what we do next.
And so that's the solution to our puzzle. Hezekiah's failure wasn't the end of his story. In the end, he isn't remembered for that one time he proudly showed off his treasures. No, he's remembered for his absolute, unwavering trust when the entire Assyrian army was breathing down his neck. His legacy isn't about being flawless, it's about being faithful.
And that, of course, leaves us with a question that kind of echoes down through time, right to us. Maybe the goal isn't to live a life completely free of failure. Maybe it's to be remembered, like Hezekiah, for our faithfulness through it. So, the question is, what will our legacy be?